Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivanodari Gopi Janavalabha Girivanodari Sodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Jasodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Jamnatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Pravijagacharya Astatya Sadashishimat. His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Gaudiya Vaiṣṇavas Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Samakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Shri Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Shri Mayapurnavidam Ki Jai, Ganga Maya Ki Jai, Jamuna Maya Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Go Premanandi, all glories to some devotees, all glories to some devotees, all glories to some devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 2, text number 5 and 6. Yashyanke Sira Adhaya Loka Swapiti Nirvitaha Swayam Dharmam Adharmam Va Na Hi Veda Yata Pashuhu Sa Katang Nyarpitatmanam Kuta Maitram Achetanam Viṣṇavaniyo Bhutanam Sagrano Daghum Arhati Yashankesir Adhaya Lokasvapiti Nirvitaha Swayam Dharma Dharmam Va Nahi Veda Yatapashuhu Sakatam Nyarpitatmanam Kuttamaitram Achetanam Viṣṇavaniyo Bhutanam Sagrano Dhugam Arhati Yashankesir Adhaya Lokasvapiti Nirvitaha Swayam Dharmam Dharmam Va Nahi Veda Yatapashuhu Sakatam Nyarpitatmanam Kuttamaitram Achetanam Viṣṇavaniyo Bhutanam Sagrano Dhugam Arhati Yashankesir Adhaya Lokasvapiti Nirvitaha Swayam Dharmam Dharmam Va Nahi Veda Yatapashuhu Sakatam Nyarpitatmanam Kuttamaitram Achetanam Viṣṇavaniyo Bhutanam Sagrano Dhugam Arhati
Yashankesir Adhaya Lokasvapiti Nirvitaha Swayam Dharmam Dharmam Va Nahi Veda Yatapashuhu Sakatam Nyarpitatmanam Kuttamaitram Achetanam Viṣṇavaniyo Bhutanam Sagrano Dhugam Arhati
Yashankesir Adhaya Lokasvapiti Nirvitaha Swayam Dharmam Dharmam Va Nahi Veda Yatapashuhu Sakatam Nyarpitatmanam Kuttamaitram Achetanam Viṣṇavaniyo Bhutanam Sagrano Dhugam Arhati
Yashankesir Adhaya Lokasvapiti Nirvitaha Swayam Dharmam Va Nahi Veda Yatapashuhu Sakatam Nyarpitatmanam Kuttamaitram Achetanam Viṣṇavaniyo Bhutanam Sagrano Dhugam Arhati.
Anybody else like this?
Yashankesir Adhaya Lokasvapiti Nirvitaha Swayam Dharmam Dharmam Va Nahi Veda Yatapashuhu Sakatam Nyarpitatmanam Kuttamaitram Achetanam Viṣṇavaniyo Bhutanam
Viṣṇavas
Anybody else? Okay, yasya, of whom? Anke, on the lap. Shiraha, the head. Adhaya, placing. Loka, the general mass of people. Swapiti, sleep. Nirvataha, in peace. Swayam, personally. Dharmam, religious principles or the goal of life. Adharmam, irreligious principles. Va, or. Na, not. He, indeed. Veda, no. Yata, exactly like. Excuse me. Pashu, an animal. Saha, such a person. Kutam, how. Nyarpita atmanam, unto the living entity who has fully surrendered. Kritamaitram, endowed with good faith and friendship. Achetanam, with undeveloped consciousness. Foolish. Viṣṇavas, deserving to be the object of faith. Bhutanam, of the living entities. Sagunaha, who has a soft heart for the good of all people. Dogdhum, to give pain. Arhati, is able. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. People in general are not very advanced in knowledge by which to discriminate between religion and irreligion. The innocent, unenlightened citizen is like an ignorant animal, sleeping in peace with its head on the lap of its master, faithfully believing in the master's protection. If a leader is actually kind-hearted and deserves to be the object of a living entity's faith, how can he punish or kill a foolish person who has fully surrendered in good faith and friendship? Purport. The Sanskrit word Vaiṣṇavas refers to one who breaks faith or causes a breach of trust. The mass of people should always feel security because of the government's protection. Therefore, how regrettable it is for the government itself to cause a breach of trust and put the citizens in difficulty for political reasons. We actually saw during the partition days in India that although Hindus and Muslims were living together peacefully, manipulation by politicians suddenly aroused feelings of hatred between them, and thus the Hindus and Muslims killed one another over politics. This is a sign of Kali Yuga. In this age, animals are kept nicely sheltered, completely confident that their masters will protect them. But unfortunately, as soon as the animals are fat, they are merely sent for slaughter. Such cruelty is condemned by Vaiṣṇavas like the Viṣṇudūtas. Indeed, the hellish conditions already described await the sinful men responsible for such suffering. One who betrays the confidence of a living entity who takes shelter of him in good faith, whether that living entity be a human being or an animal, is extremely sinful. Because such betrayals now go unpunished by the government all the human society is terribly contaminated. The people of this age are therefore described as Sumanda-matayo, manda-bhāgyā, Upadrutāḥ. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.10. As a consequence of such sinfulness, men are condemned, manda. Their intelligence is unclear, sumanda-matayo, and they are unfortunate, manda-bhāgyā, and therefore they are always disturbed by many problems, Upadrutāḥ. This is their situation in this life and after death. They are punished in hellish conditions. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshram Militam Dena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukram Kotava Chalang Pangum Nanghayate Gurim Yat Kripa Taraham Bande Shigurum Dinataranam Vanchikapachubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaiṣṇavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Trust plays a big role in a relationship. Actually, trust is the main portion of a relationship. If there's trust, then relationships can go on and blossom. But when there's, as it's mentioned here, a breach of trust, trust is lost, and it's very difficult to mend that relationship. Just like we were all with Krishna at one point. And we decided that we wanted to play his role, play the God role, enjoyer, proprietor. So there was a breach of trust there. And we had to come here and try to play the role. Not very good at it. So, to mend that relationship, now, of course, by Prabhupada's mercy, we've gotten this knowledge and we understand that actually we're not God, we're the servants of God. But to mend that relationship, very difficult. Very difficult to mend that relationship. Just like it's, unfortunately, it happens a lot in relationships, husband and wife, and there's some, either the husband cheats on the wife or the wife cheats on the husband, and to mend that relationship, very difficult. And many divorces, and even murders because of this. So, to mend that relationship, to get the trust again, Krishna, I'm not going to do this again. To get that trust, not easy. But it's possible. We have to really, really want to serve Krishna again. There's a story of one saint who was on a bank of a river and he was meditating, chanting Hare Krishna. And one young man came and he said to this saintly person, I would like to be your disciple. And he said, oh, why? Why do you want to be my disciple? He said, because I want to learn about God. So this saintly person, he grabbed him by the collar and he thrust him into the water, into the river for some time, about a minute or two. And then he lifted him up. And the saintly person asked, so, when you were in the water, what did you want? I wanted air. And then the saintly person said, come back to me when all you want is God. And he said, okay, thank you. A few months later, he came back. He said, now I just want God. Now, he was expecting that he was going to get thrust back into the water again. He was ready for that. But the saintly person said, okay, sit down and I'll tell you about Krishna. It's a little bit of a hard lesson, but the message got through. You know, to just want Krishna, to just want God, not easy. It's stated, Krishna Bhakti Rasabhavitamiti Kriyatam Yadi Kutopilami Tatraloyam Apimoyam Janma Koti Sukotirna Labhyate. That this love for Krishna, it cannot be attained even after engaging in millions and millions of pious activities. But it can be attained only by that person who intensely desires it. It even says loyam, which means greed. So we have to really, really, really desire to serve Krishna. And Krishna, he's very kind. So he helps. I think this Krishna Bhakti, that came from that, Krishna consciousness came from that, right? Yeah. Yeah. Krishna Bhakti Sabhavitamiti. Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada uses that throughout it. But many times I'm on book distribution and people I offered the books to, he said, oh yeah, I know about Krishna consciousness. Yeah, quite a few people. Because it's so many times Prabhupada puts that in the books. Krishna consciousness, this is the goal. Krishna consciousness, to be conscious of Krishna. There's so many things we can be conscious of, especially in this modern age. So to be conscious of Krishna, it's a big challenge. It's a struggle. There was one professor of biology, and he had one cocoon, and he told his students that in this cocoon a butterfly is going to come out after some time. And they saw that the butterfly was coming out gradually, it was working its way out, but it was struggling. So one of the students thought, well, let me help it out. So he got a little knife and he made the hole bigger so the butterfly won't have to struggle so much and come right out. So when the professor returned, he saw that the butterfly was allowed out, didn't have to struggle. So he said, now, because he did that, it's going to die. Because the struggle is good, it helps the muscles to grow. Because you did that, therefore there was no struggle and it didn't grow the muscles necessary for it to fly. So it died. So struggle is good. It helps us to grow. And therefore it's stated, yagya, dana, tapa, karma, natchajam karyam evata. Yagya dana tapas chaiva pavanani manisinam. That the activities of sacrifice, yagya, dana, charity, and tapa, austerity, these activities are never to be given up. Even the great souls, they don't give, because they're advantageous for our growth in spiritual life. Yeah. So it's so important that we always engage in these activities. Sacrifice. Yeah. Prabhupada wanted devotees to sacrifice their life for Krishna consciousness. And Krishna says, prana, artha, dhyavacha. Krishna says in I think it's in the 10th canto, that one should give one's life, prana, one should give one's life for the benefit of others. For the benefit of others. And of course, the best way to give one's life for the benefit of others is to distribute this knowledge. It's like now, as Balaram mentioned, I think yesterday, we have a marathon coming up. Prabhupada liked these marathons. He was astounded at the first marathon. I think it was in 1972 when they distributed. I forgot the amount of books, but in 3 days during the Christmas marathon, there's 1,000. I think it was 18,000 literatures by one temple, if I'm not wrong. And Prabhupada was amazed that the people in your country, they're becoming aware, they're appreciating this knowledge of Krishna consciousness. So from that time on, ever since 1972, there's been this marathon, an opportunity to give more and more of Srila Prabhupada's books out to the people. This is what is most needed. This knowledge of the absolute truth. There's so much knowledge out there, but no absolute knowledge. A lot of relative knowledge and a lot of false knowledge. What do they call it? Fake news. A lot of false information. But we're giving out the absolute truth, which is what is most needed in society. So, yajna, dana, charity. This is the best charity. Yeah. Giving this knowledge out to the people. This is random acts of kindness, actually. Prabhupada is the epitome of random acts of kindness. Yeah. When he left India at the age of 7, he didn't have to do that. Yeah. But he was very kind, a kind, saintly person. So he gave his life to giving Krishna to others, the perfect example that we can follow, given our life to Krishna. Now there's so many devotees now have been distributing books for 50 years. Vaiṣṇavas, not only is he distributing, but he's inspiring so many devotees to distribute books. So it's an opportunity for people to hear about Krishna and learn what is Dharma. As it's mentioned here, people don't know what is right. They don't know what is Dharma. They don't know what is adharma. They don't know. The leaders don't know, so they can't teach their subjects what is right, what is wrong. But we have this knowledge coming from Krishna, coming from Srila Prabhupada, about what is right and what is wrong, what is Dharma, what is adharma. Yeah. So the more we also live this life of Dharma, the more we'll be a good example. It's called sadachara, purified activities. By hearing this knowledge, we gradually act in this way. Yeah, it'd be purified activities. Purified activities. So many impure activities all around the world. So many sinful activities, just like we're hearing here, that these people that are raising animals and they're feeding them until they get fat and then they kill them. Yeah. Terrible, terrible, so sinful, terrible. There's one story of a lady who married one man who was he had a ranch, and he would raise cows to kill them. That was his business. But she was a musician, so she would go out and she would sing to the cows. And he said to her, her husband said to his wife, "Don't name them. Don't give them names." Because when they give them names, then it becomes personal, right? Don't give them names. So what did she do? Sure enough, she gave them names, and she would sing to them, and they eventually got to know their names. It became very personal. So she became so affectionate towards these cows that she became a vegetarian and eventually became a vegan. And she wanted... She's still married to the guy. Yeah. Nice relationship, but there's a little problem there. So eventually she decided that she wanted to save the cows. So she got on the internet. You know, there's so many vegan groups, and she explained the situation. My husband, he raises cattle to kill them. I've become a vegan. I want to save these cows. So would anybody like to donate to save these cows? And she got about $30,000 donated to her and saved the cows. And what's most amazing is he became a vegan too. And the farm just became a dairy farm, and they let the cows die naturally. It's an amazing story. So this is it's natural in a sincere soul. Why kill them? Yeah. Like the Prabhupada tells of one story of a man who had some chickens, and one time he took a chicken out there and he chopped its head off, and he had one son there, and the son just started screaming. It was just so painful, just crying and screaming. And the man, he's laughing. He said, "Why are you crying?" You know, he thought it was funny. They got, you know, chickens running around with no head on. Yeah. But everybody has different natures. Yeah. So sometimes it happens that pure devotees, they go and they preach Krishna consciousness, and they bring out this pure nature that's already dormant in the living entity. So this is the mercy of the pure devotee, that this purity comes out. And one wants to do the right thing, the dharmic thing. But in this age, it's difficult because it's the age of Kali. And the age of Kali, as Prabhupada mentions here in this verse, a very famous verse, Prayana priyapasava kalavas minjikajana Sumanda-matayo manda-bhāgyā. That in this age of Kali, people are short-lived. Prabhupada would say how his grandmother lived to be, I think, 98 years old, and now people are living less. And then eventually, it's described in the Bhagavatam that if one lives to be 30 years old, he'll be an old man. Yeah. And how much did people used to live? 100,000 years. A long time. Excuse me. And then 10,000 years. And then 1,000. And now if someone lives to be 100, it's very rare. Yeah. So the lifespan will decrease more and more. Yeah. So short-lived, lazy. You know, people... basically, people want to do as little as they can, and therefore, so many people, they try to get the lottery. You know, they put money in, like millions of people. They try to get the millions of dollars. Why? Now it's billions, huh? Yeah. Why? So they can just sit at home or just go on vacation, just live, just not do anything, right? Right? Just live it up, just party and just not do it. This is what people want. But they have to work. They don't want to work. Yeah. So people are lazy. So what to speak of spiritually? Yeah. People are spiritually very lazy. They don't want to learn about God or advance in any spiritual direction. Just want to enjoy material life. Yeah. So lazy in both ways. So short-lived, lazy, misguided in so many ways. Yeah. Leaders, they don't know what's good for the people. Just like now we're going to have an election pretty soon. No, I mean, not pretty soon, a couple of years. The presidential election. They're already, getting ready for the president. So, and they're all saying, vote for me, I'll do the best for the country. You know? But they don't know what is best for the country. They haven't a clue. Haven't a clue what is best for the country. And one time a devotee said, Prabhupada, you should be the president of the country. And Prabhupada said, no, I wouldn't want to be the president, but I can guide.
He said, Brahmananda will be the president, I'll be a spiritual master.
Brahmananda, Prabhupada said, Brahmananda can be the president, and I'll give him guidance. I'll be his spiritual master. So yeah, that's there's no head in society. Yeah. Just like it's described that the Brahmana, he is the head of society, and the Kshatriyas, they're the arms, and the belly is the Vaishyas, and the Sudras are the legs. But now, throughout the world, there is no head. There's no spiritual leadership, and therefore there's chaos all over the world. Suffering, so much suffering going on all over the world. And practically there's no Kshatriyas either. A real Kshatriya, he's powerful, very powerful, and honorable, and great integrity, and very powerful. There's no Kshatriyas. And Vaishyas also, very few Vaishyas. What are Vaishyas? The duty of the Vaishya is protect cows, engage in business and festivals and things like this. This is a Vaishya. There's no real Vaishyas either. So much exploitation, not caring. And a lot of Sudras. Actually, Dravida pointed out that there's not even any Sudras. A real, just like, who was a famous Sudra?
I'm not famous, no. I'm telling you the famous Sudra. All those movie stars.
No, who's the most famous in Chaitanya Charitamrita? Sudra. Ramananda Roy.
Oh.
He was a Sudra. But he was one of the greatest devotees, Lord Chaitanya. He sat and he took instructions. He was asking questions to Ramananda Roy, Sudra. Yeah. Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh. So he was a Sudra, but he was a great, 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 great Vaiṣṇava. So throughout society, it's like it's a headless society, and therefore so many problems. So by giving this literature out, by giving this knowledge out, people are getting a head on their shoulders about, they're learning about what is right, what is wrong, what to do, what not to do. So this knowledge is about just giving people a head, giving them a brain. Just like many of us, we didn't have brains practically before we got this knowledge. Didn't know what's right, didn't know what's wrong, didn't have a clue. But now we know. Now we're getting some proper guidance. So this verse goes on to say, so that's short-lived, lazy, misguided, unlucky, above all, always disturbed. People are disturbed. Some little things, people get very disturbed. And therefore there's so much violence and murders. And so therefore we have to give this knowledge out to the people for their great benefit. It's stated, iti sadasikam nama kalikam asanasana, that if one wants to counteract the contamination of this age of Kali, if one wants to be free of all the sins of this age, there is no alternative than to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This is what is needed. Just like last night, we had a nice meeting at the Krishna Lounge, and someone asked, so how can we advance in spiritual life? What is the best way in this age to advance, to become purified? Kalir doshna de rajan asti heka mahadguna Krishna deva Krishna sya mukta sangha param vajat. In this age of Kali, there is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way than to chant. Kali, in this age, it's so much faults. Wherever you look, there's so many faults. Kali dosha. Dosha means faults. A lot of faults wherever you look. So many faults. But the one good quality of this age of Kali is that simply by chanting Hare Krishna, we can become completely purified and be qualified to enter into the kingdom of God. This is the power of the holy name. Because the name Krishna and Krishna, they're non-different. So Krishna is so pure. He's the purest of the pure. So the more we continue this hearing the names of Krishna, the more we're going to get purified. And eventually, by the mercy of Krishna, we'll become completely pure. And that will qualify us to go back to Krishna, where everyone is pure. Everyone is pure in the spiritual, no problems. Like last night I was mentioning that we have these problems in the material world. Birth, death, old age, and disease. But these problems aren't there in the spiritual world. No problems, no anxiety. Yeah. There's no death, there's no old age, no disease. Why? Because there we get a spiritual body. A spiritual body. Yeah. This is how to really live life. A spiritual body. Serving Krishna. Serving the Vaiṣṇavas. This is the pleasure of the soul. So, people are suffering in this age of Kali, and a devotee is compassionate. Therefore we say, Vanchakapa Trivyaścha Kripasinuvyevacha Paritanam Bhavaneva Vaiṣṇavebhyo Namo Namo. That the devotees, they're very compassionate upon the fallen souls, and therefore they go out of their way to help the conditioned souls. So this marathon is an opportunity for us to go out of our way to help the conditioned souls, to come out of the comfort zone. Actually, it's an austerity to step out of the comfort zone and go out and approach people who may not be interested in Krishna consciousness. It's an austerity for the mind, but for the soul, it's great pleasure. And it can become the most pleasurable thing. Like so many devotees, it's like there's a devotee now in Ukraine. He goes out on book distribution every day. On book distribution, yeah, during a war. And he's having a great time out there. I just got a bunch of stories from Niranjana Swami. I'm going to gradually be sending them out. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. Amazing stories. So here he is in a war, and he's just super fired up, having a great time. And here we are in San Diego. Oh, Prabhu, I don't know, it's a little austere, if I can approach people and, offer books to them, that's going to be too much austerity.
A little cold.
A little cold, yeah. Yeah, it's Ukraine, it's freezing. Literally, it's freezing. But they're so devoted to giving the message of Krishna out and pleasing their spiritual master. So we should accept this austerity for our benefit, for their benefit, and to please Krishna. Does that sound like a good program? Okay, on that, is there any question or comment?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Let's see if there's anything on the inside here, Vijaya Krishna Prabhu.
Of course, Prabhu, I can wait, no problem.
Okay. Anything on the inside here? Okay, it looks like you're on, Vijaya Krishna Prabhu.
Justin Prabhu has a question.
Justin.
Yes.
Okay.
Our Justin?
Hare Krishna.
Justin
class.
from?
We have two Justins.
My old friend Justin? Okay, go.
Yes, my question is, you mentioned the concept of breaking trust and how hard it is to get back. What should we do if we feel like senior people around us are not acting correctly maybe and have broken our trust? How should we take that situation?
Yeah. Well, relationships are difficult in Kali Yuga. So sometimes, just due to the age, the age of quarrel and hypocrisy, sometimes we have to, even have to, if it's not mended, sometimes we even may have to give up a relationship. There's so many relationships we can have in the material world, but sometimes if it's been so damaged and it doesn't look good, like it's going to be mended, sometimes we have to give up relationships that we may have had at one time. Of course, there's always something nice to think about, and that is that we always have this relationship with Krishna. And it's always there. It's like I was listening to Prabhupada recently. It's like you have a father, and the son may give up the relationship with the father. But the relationship is always there. It's always there. But it may be not very healthy right now. Just like when he Prabhupada gave the example, just like when you fill out a form or something, they're going to ask, what is your father's name? You got to put his name in there. The relationship is there, although it may not be a healthy relationship. So similarly, we always have a relationship with Krishna. It's always there. We just have to go forward and try to mend this relationship. He's always, actually Prabhupada said that Krishna is much more desirous of this relationship being enacted again than we desire. Krishna wants it so much. We just have to desire it ourselves. And relationships in this world, eventually they're broken anyway. With death, relationships are broken. But this relationship with Krishna, it's never broken. Nothing can break that relationship. It may not be a healthy relationship, just like now there's so many atheists. Unfortunately, atheism isn't growing around the world. But still, even there, that relationship is there. It's not a healthy relationship, but even the atheists, they're part and parcel of Krishna. They just have to remember. So of course we try our best to keep relationships in this world. Therefore a very big part of a relationship is being forgiving. We should be forgiving. And to be forgiving and also to forget, that's the most difficult. You can forgive, on an external level, you can, I forgive you. But then to forget, that's the hard one. So we should be forgiving and forget as well. And just try to, as much as possible, try to have nice relationships with those whom we have relationships with. And if something happens, forgiving is very important. There's even a verse, very important verse. Kshantir vyartha kaladvam viraktir manasunyata ashabanda samutvena namagani sadaruchi. That these are symptoms of someone who has began to develop love for Krishna. And the first symptom is kshantir, forgiving. Forgiving. That's the most important of these 9, is to be forgiving. To not waste time. Kshantir vyartha kalatvam. Prabhupada many times he would say when he's speaking about this, don't waste time. Time is so valuable. We can't get back 1 second of time, so it's so valuable. If you have some time, read, chant, do seva. Don't waste time. Time is being wasted in so many ways now throughout the world with the internet and games and Facebook, and it's horrible, horrible. So, is that okay?
I can add something.
Yeah, Maharaj?
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj would like to say something as well.
Yeah, everything you said is true. Sometimes are you talking about relationships in ISKCON? When you say
Justin?
seniors, I think he was referring to ISKCON.
You're talking about relationships in ISKCON, friendly relationships, or what do you?
Yes, maybe other devotees.
Yeah, so, okay. So, especially a younger or junior devotees and seniors, well, I'm trying to think how to say it. Just like you said, I heard an advertisement, and it was for, it says 10,000 therapists are available for depression and for relationships. I was thinking, maybe there's a connection here. It's the relationships that are causing the depression. So just like you were saying, it's tough, you know? And even amongst devotees, because it says in Kali Yuga, there's friction between friends and friends, brothers and brothers. Natural allies, Prabhupada calls them. Fathers and sons and brothers. Even in Kali Yuga, there's natural. So everything you said is true. But sometimes there actually are exploitive relationships. Sometimes there are genuine, it's not so easy and sometimes there's severe misunderstandings. There are things that burn the heart, and it's not so easy forgive and forget. There's the old saying, bury the hatchet. And the other counter to that is nobody ever forgets where they buried the hatchet. So some wounds are deep, and it's not just, just get over it, forgive, and move on. That's the ultimate bottom line. But it's not so easy sometimes. So one of the things is you should talk directly to the person first. At least try. Here's how, and you preface it, here's how what you did made me feel. You don't want to get in the loss that I'm right, you're wrong, this, that. I mean, you can, if they're open to that, sure, go down that road. But a lot of times people shut down, they get defensive, say, hey, when you do that or when you said this, this is how it affected me. This is how so, what do we do about that? Now, if they say, get over it, move on, well, okay, you can't go too much further. But it's always good to at least speak to the person, don't hit him on the fly. These are all the things that I've done wrong and continue to do, so a fool learns by bitter experience. Wait for a time that they're peaceful. Wait for a time that you can actually hear them out. Say, hey, look, come in humble. Tell them how it makes you feel. And also be open to hearing. Hey, what were they thinking? Why did they say what they said? Try to get into the emotional, because people, especially in Kali Yuga, are 80% emotional. So try to find out what the emotional issues that are driving them. That doesn't always work, but at least you should give it that try. If they just shut down or get heavy, or you're not getting anywhere and you want to pursue the thing, try talking to someone who is close to them. Try talking to someone they trust. And say, hey, I got this thing with Bhadranayan Swami, and, can you help me out here? And if Dravida, Vijay, Dharmasetu, Yamunapati, Dayanidhi, say, hey, come on. I'm going to hear that, So you often you go to someone who's first you go directly to them in the mood that I said. If that doesn't work, then you try to go to somebody who's close to them. Who maybe, if their person is very much senior, the power dynamic is they've got it, or whatever it is, you go to someone who's a peer of them, and you try to approach them. Mm-hmm. And that quite often will get their attention. I mean, there's other steps. If none of that works, I remember I was talking with Govardhan Prabhupada's Govardhan, one of my early temple presidents who I can never repay. Some heavy thing had happened, a devotee done. It was a real burn, right? So we were sitting each other, we tried everything to fix the thing, and I was real fried, actually. And Govardhan said, well, let's back up. What actually matters? And he said, well, this, that. He said, well, Krishna is still God. So ultimately, whatever may be happening in this particular relationship, I'm still eternal spirit soul. Krishna is still the Supreme Personality of Godhead. My whole goal in life is to go back to Godhead. There is Vaikuntha, there is the spiritual world. So we have, okay, let me just keep that as the perspective, and that is my goal. And sometimes with this particular relationship, it just may not be working out. It may be an abusive or a toxic or an unhealthy, it's just not working. And just step back from it.
Yeah. Sometimes
What can you do?
relations
Okay, so that's
don't
enough
work
for
out.
me.
Yeah, you just got to step back, and there's other relationships in the material world. Sometimes you just got to. It's not working out. Yeah, yeah. Wish well from the distance. Yeah, good. Thank you.
And one last thing, Prabhupada also wrote me personally.
Give him the.
To this day, I'll say my case was legitimate. I wrote to Prabhupada complaining about something. And Prabhupada's answer was, okay, fine, talk to your GBC, work it out, this and that, And he said, but ultimately the best way to work with people is by setting your personal example. Teach by example. So that's another thing. You can teach by example. You can be kind, you can be compassionate, you can be enlivened, you cannot get into whatever their weird mental trip is. Don't get down into their game. Just set a nice example, be happy in Krishna consciousness. That also helps inspire and teach.
I'll tell you a couple of amazing things.
I was trying to dig something out of you. That's what
Yeah,
I was trying
you
to
just
go.
did. Prabhupada tells of two brothers. I mean, he's talking about, brothers are usually pretty close, especially Indian brothers are like, really. But they got in an argument, and they got kind of a heated argument, and eventually it became they started fighting, physical fighting, and one of them killed the other. So they went to court, so the judges declared that he put him to death. He killed his brother. And the father said, please, Your Honor, one of my sons just died. Please don't kill my other son too. But this is the material world, the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. It's very. But I'll tell you, one of the most amazing things I ever heard about forgiving. There was a young man who was killed. He was robbed and killed. And the person that killed him and robbed him was in prison. And the mother went to this person who had killed her son. And she went to him before they took him away. He was going to spend some time, 20 years or 30 years in prison, whatever. Before they took him away, she went up to him, she said, I'm going to kill you.
Jeez.
And she walked away. But she was the only person that would visit him in prison.
To taunt him?
No. She was... This is the most amazing thing I ever heard. She would visit him. And she was actually a good woman. And because of her goodness, he was a good prisoner. And in America, if you get out in good time, if you're a good prisoner, he got out early. So she said to him, so what are you going to do when you get out of prison? He said, I don't know. And she said, well, you can come and you could stay with me. He said, really? He said, yeah. So she came and stayed in her apartment. And she said, do you remember when I told you I'm going to kill you? This is America. She said, what I meant, I'm going to kill the evil in you. That was what I was thinking. I'm going to kill the evil in you. And the guy became a good person by the mercy of this woman. I was thinking, wow, that's real forgiving, huh? Not only forgiving, and then helping. Like unbelievable. So this is an example of someone who's selfless, really wanted to help someone. Okay, anything else? No, I think that's it. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
I don't think he ever did ask this question, actually. He did? He was asking on behalf of.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.